Hey, I'm Higginbotham, LCSW, and welcome back to part 4 of our 5-part series on cognitive distortions. So, moving right along to number 10, we have blaming. So blame is defined by Dr. Brené Brown is a way to discharge emotional pain. When there is blame, there is emotional pain. And to say that everyone else was the problem and everyone else was the reason that these things occurred is discharging my emotional pain onto all of those other people. That's me not taking any responsibility for that. Now, from the last part, personalization, this is actually the opposite of that. There's personalization, taking all the blame, and then blaming, which is placing all of it onto someone else. Normally, it's right in the middle. So pushing all of the blame, discharging all the emotional pain onto someone else is a thinking error because it's probably not all someone else's fault. There are very, very, very few situations in which the entire blame lay with someone else or lies with someone else. All right, number 11, we've got jumping to conclusions. All right, so I'm gonna tell on myself here. I'm really bad about this one. Really bad about this one. So let's say that jumping to conclusions means I'm gonna move really quickly to an outcome. And I'm gonna base evidence that may not have anything to do with it on the actual conclusion. So what that can mean is, let's say that something really off the wall happened. Let's say that my friend ended up buying a ferret. And I would look at that and I'd say something along the lines of, oh man, my friend bought a ferret. They must be moving to Arizona. That's what that means. Obviously that's not what that means, but that's an example, a very far-fetched example on how people jump to conclusions. They look at one specific area of evidence and they come up with a conclusion that's not really based upon that at all, which is a thinking error, which is a cognitive distortion. Normally, much more evidence is needed to come to a specific conclusion, but because you want the outcome, because you want to be prepared for the outcome, because you want to control the outcome to decrease your anxiety, you go ahead and jump to a specific conclusion so you can know exactly what's going on. Number 12, after jumping to conclusions, we have mind reading. Can you read somebody else's mind? Probably not. Probably not. But there are situations where people really believe that they know exactly what someone else is thinking at all times. Most often what's happened is that they've spent enough time around this person that they've become aware of their patterns of behavior, they've become aware of their thinking patterns, and they know what's probably going to come next. That's what normally happens. But you cannot look at somebody else and know exactly what they're thinking just because you have the power to read minds. One thing that happens specifically, especially in abusive relationships, is that people will say something along the lines of, I know you better than I know myself. No, you don't. No, you don't. What that means is that the other person probably doesn't know themselves as good as they possibly could. Coming in and telling somebody else that you know them better than they know themselves is a way for you to dictate A, what they think, B, what they're gonna do, or C, make yourself feel a little bit better. There may be other reasons, but those are probably the top 3. You can't really read somebody else's mind, and thinking that you can read somebody else's mind is a cognitive distortion that is akin to somewhat like narcissism. So these are 10, 11, and 12 in regards to our cognitive distortions, and come back for part 5.